My name is Steven Schein. I am a senior at DePaul University studying vocal performance and sound recording technology. Today, I am hosting this interview with Scott Ramsay, a tenor who teaches at DePaul University. It would be negligent to call you just an opera singer. You are a singer of many things, and it is one of the things I admire about you, and in studying with you, it's something that is interesting to me. But I'll stop talking, and here we have Scott Ramsay.
Hi, Steven.
So, my first question, everything going on in the pandemic quarantine environment, we meet as a whole every Friday in studio class, but besides that, it's kind of tough. The only people that necessarily talk to all the students are the voice teachers, as in yourself. And I would just like to know, your input. How has it been going?
I have to say that it's challenging at times because I can tell. I mean, I know it's challenging for myself, to sort of be quarantined and having my only interaction with people be, via the internet and via Zoom. That's really tough, and I can't imagine what it's like for a student to try and have interaction and learn in this type of environment. I think it has its pros and its cons, more cons than pros. But I see students working really hard to get over them, and I'm amazed. I'm amazed at what you guys are able to do on your own. And if there's anything that we can add as professors in your education, is that we're there with you. All we can do is support you because we're all in the same boat. We're all doing this together. And as long as we're doing it together and we're fighting together and we're being safe together and everything, it makes it feel a little bit more like a community. But we do have to go above and beyond to try and make that community happen.
Что день грядущий мне готовит, его мой взор знапраздно ловит.
Going back towards the music part of it, how have you've been teaching online remotely, like private lessons now for many months.
Right.
The difference, and for those of you, if you're not a singer yourself, like the audio quality difference is a lot. Not being able to immediately hear what the other person in the room is doing, that it
Right.
causes some problems. But I will say in my own study, I have improved in Zoom lessons, and I think they're not without intention. Can I get your input on that?
Yeah, it definitely can be done. I mean, we're doing it. And that's the good part, is that despite the lag, despite having to sing with piano tracks, if you're fully going virtual, we can still make positive movement forward. The good thing is that with most of my students at DePaul, I know their voices. We've been together. I have one student that is outside of DePaul that I've never had a real in-person lesson with. And it was amazing when I got into a platform, when Zoom updated to their high fidelity mode. I was really able to hear that student's voice so much better than normal. And so that made a big difference in how I was able to teach a student. But, we're lucky with DePaul, the facilities group there, Aiden and Michael and Ben and everybody who helped put together our virtual lessons in the spaces, being able to have that sound happening with the piano at the same time. And even though I'm in the sound booth, I may not even have the headphones on, I can just hear it over the PA, what's happening in the house is so much more better. Much more better, so much more exciting to me, and I think better for me as a teacher to be able to hear and see what they're doing. And that's something that I'm really proud of. I'm proud of what of what the school has been able to achieve with that, because it's helping.
Yeah, so we're able to use the facilities, which is very, very nice. I've been doing my voice lessons in the Jarvis Opera Hall.
Nice.
Shout out Mr. Eugene and
Right.
Mr. Jarvis.
Sasha.
They're
Awesome.
the best. Yeah, and it's just like, I was in the gala, which was like that one night on performance in Jarvis, but other than that,
Right.
we never got to really perform
Right.
in there. But I get to perform in there weekly right now,
And that's what's brilliant.
cool.
I think it's brilliant, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful that we're able to use them. I was frankly surprised that they would allow us in there to do lessons, but if there's nothing else going on, why
Right.
not let them sit there empty? And that's one thing I have to say. In one of my first lessons in there, one of my students was singing, and I had taken the headphones off, and you can still hear a little bit of the hall. I mean, in the sound booth, you can still hear there is a monitor in there, but even without the monitor, you can still hear in the hall, and you can hear the voice in the hall. And I got choked up. I remember one of our facility gentlemen, Michael Sportiello, was just standing next to me we both had our masks on, and he was standing a little bit away, kind of tweaking the sound and everything. And this is the first lesson in there. And I got choked up. Like I physically had a reaction to this student singing in the hall. And by the end of the lesson, when it was just me alone in the room and they were singing, I had to put my head down and just hear it and take it in, because it had been so long that I'd heard live music, and it's so important. I think the day that we're able to get back into the concert halls is going to be world changing for us, for our community, because it's going to be absolutely life changing, because we're going to be hearing in ways that we've never heard before. And I think that's exciting.
I totally agree. I think there's a bunch of, and like from a sound recording perspective, like there's some things that were a little over my head before when it came to like, how like sound reverberates a space and stuff like that. And when you're deprived of it,
Right.
It truly it made the nerdier parts of audio make more sense. Like how we truly thrive on the sensation of having like a large voice tenor like yourself in an opera hall filled with people. You know what I mean?
Mm.
That's a sensation that we have as audience that we can't
Visceral.
have, that we cannot have with headphones.
Right.
No matter how good the headphones are. And that's crazy. I want to talk about Green Bay because you and I have that in common where, I grew up outside of Cleveland, Ohio. I am an enormous Browns fan. I loved the Browns before I loved anything else. And I still to this day. And you talk a little bit about the Pack.
So here's what's funny is growing up, it was never a huge thing for me. I wasn't a huge football. I didn't really cheer for football. I played a little bit. And it just was what it was because everybody did it. And, my focus was on something different.
Okay.
It really became important to me when I left Wisconsin, when I went away for college. It was that connection back to home. And I have, our family has a little bit of a history with the Packers in that, my dad used to do a lot of work for them as a news anchor. And we knew, a lot of the old Packer players were in my living room from time to time. I went to high school with Ray Nitschke's daughter, and, some of the big Packer, players of that time of the Lambeau era, were friends with my dad. And so those people were always in my life. But when I went away, I longed for that feeling of home. And the connection that I had to home was that I could go and watch a Packer game and have that connection, A, with my family, and B, with the people around me. If I was, for instance, when I lived in Miami, um, I went to a Packer bar and started, watching the games there, and people come in and, talk to you and everything. And I ended up bumping into a professor from St. Norbert College that was now teaching at the University of Miami. And we knew each other. He had directed me in a musical, when I was a kid. And so it's that sort of connection to home, but now it's more than that. Now it's become the pride of what my hometown is about. And so I take that really seriously and personal, not too personal and not too serious, because it can, if you allow it, it can really control your life.
It can. Speaking from experience, no, yeah, I just, and it's funny that you say that. You had a close relationship with some athletes of the highest caliber, and that's something that is really important to me. I come from an athletic family. I'm the only musician in my family. I draw a lot of inspiration from athletes. I always have. LeBron is like my idol, for lack of a better term, and I'm just, it made me happy when I first learned that about you. It made me happy that, the entertainment industry and sports do fall under that category.
Yep.
We do deal with a lot of the same things and a lot of similar issues. And physical fatigue, being drawn to your ability to make money.
Right.
That sort of connection is only in so many things. That's all I have to say about that. But it is very fascinating to me.
Very true.
As I said earlier, I think your abilities as a singer, not in the opera realm, are very interesting and very exciting as somebody who gets to work with you, because you do not lack operatic sound, but your ability to use your voice and other stuff is great. And I think and of course you don't need me to tell you that, but I think a lot of students that are interested in DePaul, that are going to school for opera, they don't want to hear that all they have to do is opera. And in a lot of what we do, it is a lot of opera. But in my own experience, I didn't sing an aria until my junior year.
Right.
There's a lot of other singing that has to go on, and you learn skills singing so many other different things. And I would just like to hear kind of what you have to say about musical theater and its ties in. A lot of your students sing jazz, and of course how opera ties into all of that.
So it's really interesting that you asked me that question, because I was having a discussion with a student's family, a student of mine that's in high school, and they were a little. They kept asking me, why now my son wants to do classical music, and he's never had an interest in that before. Why would that benefit him? And I was telling them, I look back at my time. When I was in college, I had no clue that I wanted to do opera. That was not my goal. I went into music just because I like to sing. And so my thought process was, boy, I'd like to be maybe a high school choir director, or my goal wasn't to be a performer, because I didn't know what it meant to be a performer in opera. I had never seen an opera, but I had been in opera. I'd been in two operas as a chorus member. The first one was The Merry Widow, which is more of an operetta. And then the second one was Daughter of the Regiment. And that is definitely an opera. And I found it incredibly intimidating, but it was a lot of fun, and there were some great singers in it, and it kind of went over my head because I didn't know much about it. It was my first experience. But I do remember one moment when we were doing The Merry Widow, where the soprano, her name was Diane Reagans, and she has departed us, unfortunately. Chicago-based singer, and she was singing the important aria Viglia, and I was frozen. The whole chorus was frozen as she sang this. And I just remember always freezing in a particular spot so that I could watch her sing this. And I just remember that spotlight on her, and I remember the orchestra in front of her, and being able to see all of the faces staring at her. And I just thought this was like something out of a movie. And when I was in college and was told, my voice teacher at the time was like, well, listen, you're going to take voice lessons from me. I'm going to put you in the opera scenes program. And I was like, ugh. But I sang a scene from Verdi's Falstaff in English. And that was where I was like, wow, this is really awesome, because it's just like music theater, but you have to like really be able to sing, and you have to sing well to do this. And though I love music theater, it was something that, I don't mean to sound like a jerk, but it wasn't something that really challenged me. And I loved the challenge of opera. I loved it. And I loved the fact that you could do that with a different language. That being said, didn't stop ever singing music theater. Right. In fact, it was my first year there that I heard vocal jazz for the first time, I think. And I went, what's this? This is so cool. And I'd grown up doing a lot of gospel and, pop, and sang in church a bunch. And I thought, this is the closest thing to it at school. This is really cool. And I auditioned for vocal jazz the next semester or year, whatever it was, and got into the higher level, like quintet. And I'd never done it before. And it was so hard, having to really hold your own and stay on your own part, know what you're singing. That's where I learned music theory, really. I had to put theory into practice there. And I know that it's I know a lot of jazzers will say, will hear me say it was so hard, because I hadn't been exposed to it. And I think that's what's cool about DePaul, is that there are so many different things that the students can do, that they can be a part of vocally, that they can experience in a way that is safe, and I think that's really important. I think if you have a university where if you come in, you have to be focused on this one thing, I think that's dangerous. You get burnout, and I think students feel like that needs to be all encompassing. But I think a well-rounded musician is one that likes and is able to perform all types of music. Even if someone comes in and gets a classical music degree, doesn't mean that they still can't do music theater. Don't need a degree to perform.
I like to see the classical music degree as a classical understanding of the musical experience that you're trying to do,
and the vocal experience as well.
Well, right.
If you have a good, and if you have a good vocal technique that is based in classical singing, you can do the other stuff. Being a tenor is being able to belt with support, and just a more open embouchure, and they're very similar.
Stuff.
I haven't done any fall plans yet. No, I'm actually going to be heading up north to Wisconsin on Saturday. Cool. And because of COVID, I decided that it is much more beneficial for me to be with my family and be able to feel a little bit more safe. I love Chicago, and I love my condo, and I love going to the university once a week. Mm-hmm. I love it. Mm-hmm. That is the one thing that I look forward to. Usually people get upset when they think, oh, I have to go to work on Monday. Oh, it's Sunday, blah, blah, blah. Sunday, I'm like, can it be Monday morning, please? Because I just want to go to school. and interact with people, and interact with my students. And so I'm going to go up on Saturday to Wisconsin, and I'll be teaching from there remotely. So my students will stay in Gannon and Jarvis,
Right.
and they'll be able to do their lessons from there, and I will Zoom into them. So they still
won't
get the
bring a computer.
experience.
Yeah, they'll bring
Yeah.
a computer and Zoom in.
Yeah. Is that what you're doing now as well?
With Dr. Hanley, yeah.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
the last few.
So that's what I'll be doing. But when it comes to fall stuff, I'm really excited because Door County is really big. Cherries and apples are their two big things. There are lots of cherry orchards, a lot of apple orchards. So I'm really excited I haven't been able to get a good jug of apple cider, and I want a really good jug of apple cider. So I know right where I'm going to go when I get up there and get it and spice it and mull it and carve a pumpkin and get excited.
Thank you so
Steven.
much, Professor
Yeah, of
Ramsay.
course.
You are wonderful as always.
Thanks so much.
Thanks everybody for listening.
Bye.
Awesome.
Je